So here's just a small sampling of what I'm dealing with here. And the fridge is full of them too. Fortunately, I was about to go resupply, so my fridge was already almost empty. But these are the Pilot Flying J sausage, egg, and cheese croissants. They're the bigger they're Jimmy Dean basically, but they're the bigger ones. And I got a lot of them. Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? Eric here, Driveline World's OK steering wheel holder, coming at you guys from sunny South Florida. It is extremely sunny. That's why I got this thing kind of in the way here, because it's just blasting me at 6:30 in the morning. I just took a shower and vacuumed the shit out of my truck. I'm trying to kill some time because I've got to go pick up a load here shortly. It's not at the time of day that I generally like to pick up loads, but it is what it is. So you all saw what was in my fridge. I'm going to talk about that in a minute because I want to kind of catch everybody up. I've had a wild week. Like really good week, but it's just one of those weeks where it just felt like everything was going to go sideways constantly, and everything ended up working out really well, which is kind of the opposite of what it normally is. It normally is that you got your plan, your trip plan, everything's in place, and then trucking happens and just throws everything sideways. This week kind of has operated the opposite of that, which is a nice break. So if I go back a couple loads and just try to backtrack on the journey that led to me being in South Florida, which is very rare for me. I don't come down here. Used to, but I just don't do it anymore. So I picked up this load. I delivered in, oh boy, somewhere near Cleveland, I want to say, if I remember correctly. Then I went on Load Choice and got a excellent load out of Kentucky going to Georgia. It was like frozen pizzas and stuff like that. So I go pick up that load. It was perfect timing, perfect, it paid well, perfect time of the night. In fact, it was supposed to pick up that night, late that night. I got there like 4 in the morning because I wanted to blow through Cincinnati and get a washout. There's a Blue Beacon down 75, not far from this place. So I wanted to blow through Cincinnati in the early morning hours, get a washout of Blue Beacon before there was anyone else there, and go drop the empty trailer because it was a drop and hook. I never thought the load would be ready. Like that was just not even, that wasn't even on the, like it was basically, it ended up being ready 18 hours early. That's what basically was happening. Is the load, I got there to drop the empty trailer, the load was ready 18 hours early. Crazy. So I went ahead and ran the load a little bit, not too far, but a little bit, got down the road, shut down, then was doing kind of my trip planning. And this place that I was going to is in the middle of just nowhere, Georgia. I mean, like, I don't know why this guy's yelling next to me, yelling at somebody else. Anyway, it's in the middle of nowhere, like not close to any parking, not close to any fuel, not close to any washout. It's about 60 miles from 70 and 60 miles from 20. So it'll be northwest Georgia. So I'm trying to trip plan this out, and I'm trying to figure out, like, which direction am I going to go? If I can't get a load right away, which direction am I going to go? Because it's a drop and hook, so I'm going to have a dirty trailer that probably is empty of fuel. there's not really a great 24-hour washout on 75 just north of Atlanta, or on 20 just east of Atlanta or west of Atlanta. I mean, there are washouts. There's one in Atlanta, Blue Beacon, but they wouldn't have been ready that early in the morning when I was dropping this off, which was like 2 or 3 in the morning. So it's one of those things where you're just kind of like, crap, you know, just trying to roll the dice on which way to go. So I was really stressed about that. Because I just don't, I plan everything. I like to know everything ahead of time. Which sucks because in trucking there's a lot of surprises, you know, and you just have to roll with them and problem solve and figure it out and move on. But so I was kind of freaking me out, and it was just terrible 2-lane back roads, lots of this crap, no shoulder, just these awful back roads in Georgia. And right before I get to the customer, they dropped a pre-plan on me, which I rarely get pre-plans. I almost always dispatch myself using load choice, but they dropped a pre-plan that was picking up a drop and hook at the same place I was almost to. So, you know, it worked out really well. Now I get to the customer, and I'm dropping off at like 3 or 4 in the morning. I don't remember what time, maybe 2 or 3. I don't remember what time it was. And this load was not supposed to be ready until 2:30 in the afternoon, that I was going to be picking up there. Well, they tried to get me to take an empty trailer and do a break somewhere. I was like, yeah, that ain't going to happen. Like, that's not how this works. And they were trying to play it off like it, you know, they're trying to be sneaky about it. They're like, you know, if you want to go ahead and take an empty out and then, you know, do your 10 break somewhere else, and then, you know, come back and you can drop and hook your empty for a loaded trailer this afternoon when you come back for the load. Yeah, okay. I know exactly what you're trying to get at. You want me to take an empty trailer and get it washed out and get it fueled, which there's no washout or fuel in that town. Why would I do that? No, I brought you a trailer. It's loaded. Yes, it's going to be dirty when it gets empty. That's the way the ball bounces sometimes. So basically what I told them is I was out of hours. That's how I played it, which I wasn't out of hours at the time, but if I had to take an empty trailer all the way to one of the interstates to hunt down a washout, wait for it to be open, get fuel, and then come back, I would have been out of hours. Like, I didn't have enough hours to do all that. But that's neither here nor there, because I wasn't going to fucking do it anyway. Like, there's no way I'm taking an empty trailer out. No, I brought you a loaded trailer, I'm taking a loaded trailer. Like, that's the way this is going to go down. So it did. So anyway, this load that they had me taking was crazy good. It was, it paid almost $4 a mile. Delivered to Orlando. Crazy good, you know. So there's a prime trailer being pulled by a very old Volvo. I mean, very old. This Volvo is probably like 15 years old. He's got to be on A fleet or something. Anyway, so this trailer that I picked up on that load was 31,000 pounds of truck stop food. All truck stop food. It was everything in the hot case for multiple brands of truck stops. Everything from breakfast burritos to you name it. It was all truck stop food. A lot of breakfast sandwiches. So I get down to McLean's, which is where I'm delivering it to, and my plan is to go over to Auburndale to the Prime Yard after that and take a 20-hour break so that I can go to Walmart and supply there in Auburndale. Take a little bit of a break to kind of, because my fridge is empty and everything. So I'm getting unloaded at McLean, and in fact, I was texting with Jenna, and I was like, I'm pretty sure they just put something back on the trailer. Like, you know when they're done. There's no, this McLean didn't have a green or a red light. There was no light, but I knew they were done, an hour or two before, so they're working on paperwork. And then I felt what was clearly something being put back on the trailer. So I told her that, and I even joked and said, I really hope they put a fork through a case of breakfast sandwiches, which has happened to me before a few times. So they leave the paperwork in the trailer, so you don't know much of anything until you go open the trailer. So I pulled the trailer forward, and there's an entire pallet right at the tail end of the trailer, and there's notes in the bills, and the bills basically say that there was no PO number for that pallet, which was 119 cases of these sausage, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwiches for Pilot Flying J. 119 cases. There was no PO. Sure enough, on that line, it shows in the bills, it shows what they are. It shows the item. But over on the left, where all the PO numbers were, there's no PO number. So not only did they not order that, it was an overage. They didn't order it. They didn't want it. Even if they wanted it, they couldn't take it because it didn't have a PO number. There's no way to log it into their system. So this creates quite a dilemma, because first of all, the product itself, and this is how Claims explained it to me, and how I understood it. The product itself is so specific, because it's branded Pilot Flying J, it can't go to like Kroger or someone, like Circle K. Like, there's not, the only buyer for that product is Pilot Flying J. It can't go to McLean or any other distributor because it doesn't have a PO number. So it can't be pushed into their logistics system, so it would have to be bought by somebody who services Pilot Flying J, and it would need a PO number. The first one's, there's not a lot of suppliers. I mean, McLean probably handles most of it for that region, and it didn't have a PO number anyway. And Tyson isn't going to pay to have me take one pallet all the way back to Georgia when the pallet probably has a shelf life. It's not like it can just float around the country for a couple weeks, you know what I mean? So it's not really cheap. I'm sure that they don't charge the distributor anywhere near what we pay in a truck stop, but these are like $5 sandwiches, and there's thousands of them. 119 cases. I mean, there's thousands of these sandwiches. I thought for sure that my plan to fuel the trailer on the way over to Prime, get it washed out in the morning while it's at the yard, take a break for the day, go bobtail over to Walmart and stock up. I thought for sure that plan was going out the window, because I was certain they were going to have me haul that pallet to donate somewhere in Orlando and screw up my whole plan, screw up my whole break, screw up everything. I was just certain that was going to happen. Like, I went to bed. I think I got to the yard at like 2 in the morning. I went to bed fully expecting to wake up to messages that I needed to take it to, somewhere that's not ready for trucks, with no dock, which I've had to deal with that quite a few occasions, in a residential neighborhood, some little nonprofit with no dock, nobody that can unload trailers, not even a pallet jack, and you got to hand offload all this product to somebody. I was pretty certain that was what was going to happen. So at about 10 in the morning, there's a knock on the door. And it's the dude over there who manages the yard. And he goes, "Hey, I got great news for you." So what's that? And he said, they just called me and said to convey to you that it is dispose of or donate. I've got a food pantry that's coming over to pick it all up. It doesn't have to be taken over there. We don't have to throw it away. So all you need to do is move this trailer over to that side of the yard, drop it, and I've got it empty over here. And you can go hook up to the empty and finish your break. So it's again one of those things where it's going sideways, but then it really works out. This doesn't happen very often. So I go over there and drop that trailer, and then there's a brand new trailer over on the other side that he gives me a number for. It's washed out, dry, and full of fuel. So it just could not have been a better outcome. Oh, and also, I went over and he's like, man, I'm going to take a couple cases of this. You want a couple cases of this? I was like, oh, hell yeah, I was going to take a couple cases of that. So, because he's like, look, the food pantry, like they're going to be handing it out to their friends and family too. He's like, it's at a church and they don't have the freezer capacity for all this anyway. They just, it's better to let them come get it than to throw it all away. So yeah, I got a couple cases of it, and so I had sausage, egg, and cheese croissants yesterday for lunch. I'm gonna have one here shortly for breakfast, then I'll probably have them again for dinner. I don't like to eat it like that back to back, but the problem is there's a bunch in the fridge. So the ones in the freezer, they'll be fine for a while, but the ones in the fridge, I kind of gotta, I gotta smash those pretty quick because they can't just sit in the fridge for a couple weeks. But yeah, it's crazy, man, because those are like the legit bigger ones that are, I think they're over $5 at Pilot Flying J. They're not cheap. So that all worked out. Then I get proposed a load, because for those who don't have load choice, let me tell you, load choice is garbage if you're at the Auburndale yard. Garbage. Because the only loads it'll show you when you're at the yard are loads sitting on the yard. And the only loads sitting on the yard are loads that are delivering nearby. Like, nobody goes and picks up a load in Florida. Like, if they've been on home time, they're going to go pick up a load and deliver it. They're not going to pick up a load and take it to the prime yard. The only loads that are sitting at the prime yard in Florida are loads that someone brought to Florida and then dropped off so they could go on home time. So they're all loads that are going 20 miles, either 20 miles somewhere local and it pays like $100, or 200 miles down to Miami and it pays, a few $100s. I ain't doing any of that. That's just not worth my, no, I'm not going to go sit at a dock somewhere for 5, 6, 7 hours in a shithole receiver in Miami, for a couple $100s. It's just not, it's not in the cards. So I get this proposed load, and it's a 9-drop flour load picking up out of Miami, with the last one being in Vermont. So not only is it a 9-drop flour load, it's 9 drops in the Northeast. Like, they're all in the Northeast, and it's like, that ain't gonna happen. I've done my time on Miami loads. When Jen and I were team driving, we had to take a flour load during a hurricane, which was terrifying. We had to shut down, and we had a flour load. Like, they have a very short life, on them, but it was a hurricane. It was not a heavy load. So, I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. But I couldn't use load choice because I was at the yard. And then boom, this load drops on me that is just unheard of for Florida that I'm picking up right now, which is not quite Miami. It's out here in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of South Florida. It's a produce load. I think it's either corn or cabbage, that's paying almost $2,800 for 1,100 miles. Crazy, unheard of for Florida. So again, I'm like, there's just shitty loads there on the yard that I'm not going to do. I'm getting this 9-drop flour load. Oh, is this going to be what it is? I'm just going to drive. I told my fleet manager, look, man, I'm just going to drive to Florida or Georgia. Like, I'm not going to sit here and putter around with this. I'm just going to drive to Georgia. And then that's when he dropped this one on me. But that's how the whole week has been. It's like, I think shit's kind of going sideways, not working out, and then boom, it works out really well. It is refreshing as fuck, because that's just not the way it generally goes, man. For me, in trucking, it's always the opposite. where you're just trying to plan things out right and make things work, and then things go sideways. So yeah, it's crazy, man. It ended up being a really, really strong week, and I'm already set up with I can't believe I got a $2,800 load out of South Florida, produce load, going 1,100 miles. Like it's 1,100 plus 109 miles deadhead. So I had to drive down here from the yard. But like I said, it's not Miami. It's out here in the middle of nowhere. There's just flat nowhere. I'm like right in the middle of Florida, but south of Orlando. And this delivers Sunday, so it's just perfect. Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, drop and hook. So it's just perfect. So I'm enjoying it while I can, because I fully expect that it's going to be getting back to shit going sideways on the regular at any point. So I'm enjoying it right now while I can, with things just kind of working out right now, you know. Boy, this Loves that I'm at, also in the middle of nowhere, is just chaos, man. Part of the problem here is that a little bit down the road, there's 3 trucks with mobile homes on them. So super wide, super long loads that have just taken up like 10 spaces. And they're too long, and they're like, the whole place is just jammed up because of that. I know they got to park, but I'm not okay with that. Like, you can't just screw up an entire truck stop. You really need to have a plan to be somewhere else. So anyway, guys, be safe, make good decisions, always drive, thrive. Talk to y'all soon.